Welcome to our 5 on 5. Please welcome in Bill Thorndike, the president of the Crater Lake National Park Trust. Bill, good to see you again. How are you?
Thanks, Craig. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent to have you here. So everyone, of course, knows Crater Lake National Park, but what is the trust and what is your role as president? What do you do?
Great. The Crater Lake National Park Trust is basically the way that citizens, corporations, foundations can partner with the national park in making sure that Crater Lake National Park is the gem that it is.
Okay, and you guys are essentially right now, we're at least talking about some money we're hoping to get from the government to put into the park. Why now and how much are you looking for?
Yeah, well, we're very excited that in both the House and the Senate of the United States Congress, that a bill has now been dropped or posted that would create a legacy fund that would fund deferred maintenance in all of our 400 national parks.
Okay, and this has support in Congress or from maybe our legislators?
Well, we have bipartisan support. We do not list as sponsors our congressmen or our senators, but again, we think this is something that would have a huge economic impact in rural Oregon, which is always something we're trying to look for, and particularly with the ownership, the federal ownership of lands in Southern Oregon, including our monuments and our parks, this would be helpful.
Yeah, and you mentioned to me before we started the caves, the Oregon Caves in Josephine County would also benefit.
Right, yeah, and again, a wonderful asset, but with almost $15 million of deferred maintenance, and you wouldn't think a cave needs to be maintained, but you have all those trails, you have the bridges, you have the beautiful chateau there, all needing some ongoing work, just as Crater Lake with over 400 different buildings and miles of roads and trails that need to be maintained.
And we've talked before about kind of a new, visitor center, if you will, kind of a new hub, if that's the best word for it, for Crater Lake National Park. Is that still something, would money from this go towards that?
This legacy fund would then create the fund that would make sure that that new facility, which is still scheduled to hopefully be in construction in a year or two, will also be maintained. And that's one thing that the National Park Service has been very careful about. They don't like adding additional assets unless they really know how they're going to be able to maintain them. And this fund would allow us to do this. I think the other important thing is that this fund is not coming out of the general fund, but basically is an allocation of the royalties that the U.S. government receives already for mineral, oil, and gas extraction. So again, that's why we really like this concept of setting up a separate fund, because we also know during certain economic cycles there's a tendency to rob funds that have been set aside for work. So whether it's forest work or maintaining our parks.
Sustainable money.
Yeah, this would really help us. If you want to call it such, it helps us kind of build some patriotic philanthropy. So that, again, and that's one of the reasons we're involved as the nonprofit supporting Crater Lake, that again, here is something that would really allow us to bring together the resources. And we think that there's a potential for up to 1,000 jobs that would be created in just doing all of this deferred maintenance at Crater Lake. So on top of the $65 million, which is annually spent by the park and surrounding areas with an economic impact of almost $100 million every single year, all of a sudden you start realizing we want to keep this engine moving forward because it's so important to our economy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You talked about helping rural Oregon, but this is right here in Southern Oregon where we live, and that kind of money would spread itself around throughout several, I imagine, counties.
Yeah. Just think of the carpenters, the people working on the road crews, the plumbers, the electricians, that all are living close enough to work at Crater Lake on these projects, and we know that money then gets spent locally, which is going to be fantastic.
Excellent. Well, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here for us.
You're welcome.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back.